I'm joined on the Crispin Flintoff show by Tommy Oliver of Sutton Friends of Palestine. How are you doing, Tommy?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good, and I'm really impressed by the story that's come out in the past week about something you've been involved with. I've heard lots of people talking about boycott, divestment campaigns for local councils. There have been quite a few that have been discussed and debated, and some have been passed. But your boycott, divestment, and sanctions motion in Sutton made national news,
Yeah.
um, and you were the person who proposed this at the council meeting. Can you tell people how the background to the motion, how you got it off the ground, and basically, yeah, just how it got to be heard at all at the council?
Yeah, well, it was on the 15th of November that I got a petition together. Um, Sent the petition to the council for approval. It was approved quite in just a few days. They said, yep. So what that means is we now have to get 1,500 signatures for it to be heard at the council. And we had until the 12th of January because that was the date that I thought, right, we're going to cut it off at some point. So we'll go early January. Um, We got 1,500 signatures, mostly on paper, by mid-December. So we did that in just about a month. Um, Sutton Friends of Palestine being a grassroots community, we had lots of local people come out and get signatures. We went in the high street to mosques, all sorts of places. And when we got there, there was a lot of celebration because then we were like, okay, well, we're going to have this debate about divestment from the pension funds, from complicit companies. And the council contacted us, council officers. They said, since we've got 1,500 signatures, they said this in early January that um, the petition will be debated at the next council meeting, and you're invited to give a 5-minute speech. Um, it was then that we were told that the next council meeting is going to be on the 27th of January. And it was about, I think it was a couple of weeks or a week or so before the 27th. Um, I saw something talking about the upcoming Holocaust Remembrance Day, which is on the 27th. And I thought that's the same day as our petition is going to be discussed. So I suppose that's the background. The important thing being the council meeting was pre-planned months in advance for the 27th of January. All council meetings are planned in advance. Petitions automatically go to the next council meeting. No one really decided, especially Holocaust Memorial Day is the best day to discuss this petition. No one decided that. Um, so the day came along, and
So just before
yeah,
you go on, can I just say, can I ask you what the council how it's composed? What parties are in it? Is it a more open a council that's more open to discuss that than others might be?
yeah, definitely. So we've got majority Lib Dem. They've been quite good on the issue of Palestinian rights locally. They've taken a much stronger stance than a lot of other parties. Um, but that Lib Dem majority is has a Tory opposition, as well as two Labour councillors and three independents who were former Lib Dems. So it's important to map out the council as well because it gives you a hint of whether your motion will be passed or not in the end.
So the Lib Dems are probably more open to that discussion than the Tories would be. I'm certainly,
Yeah,
and some councils that are Labour are also blocking the motion because of what Keir Starmer's saying. So the Lib Dems maybe are more open. Let's put it that way. So what can you tell us then? What happened on the day? I mean, you've come to the council. I mean, it must have been quite exciting. You must have been nervous. I mean, have you spoken at a meeting before, a council thing or
I,
anything like that?
I've spoken outdoors and at protests. I mean, that's it really at protests. Sort of, I guess, preaching to our own crowd. Um, But when it comes to council meetings, addressing a bunch of people, half of whom are hostile to what we're going to say, frankly, as we found out later, um, it's a lot more nerve-wracking. But there was about an hour of really mundane local stuff to get through first, so I think the nerves just went away for all of that.
So did you
um,
kind of think, did you kind of get a bit, I mean, the adrenaline must have been going quite a lot as you're hearing and thinking, God, the agenda's, it's getting closer to the point of the agenda where I'm going to go up. So you
yeah,
written
yeah,
your speech out a long time before. Had it gone through
yeah,
people? And obviously it had to be very careful. Every word had to be
yeah,
right and stuff,
definitely.
didn't it?
I mean, the thing is that I wrote the speech within the like 2 hours after they said that our petition has passed successfully, which was in early January. So it was written, an outline was written by then. And it was actually that outline of speech that I sent to all the councillors, just essentially, I mean, just to say what I thought they should, why I thought they should vote for this petition.
So you sent the speech to all the councillors and and the motion just to give them the information they needed about what was happening.
Yeah.
Then you go up and you make your speech, which I'm just going to play.
I'm Tommy, co-founder of Sutton Friends of Palestine. We're a grassroots community set up 11 months ago to oppose the dehumanization of Palestinians. As humanitarians, we condemn all attacks on civilians by both Israel and Hamas, as well as decades of Israeli colonialism going back to the 1948 Nakba, the ethnic cleansing of Palestine. Our petition reflects the deep concerns of many local people, including a number of Palestinians in Sutton who have lost family members in Gaza. We're relieved that this Gaza ceasefire has finally entered its first phase, with both Israeli and Palestinian hostages being reunited with their families after being kidnapped and held without trial. But many are rightly worried about the ceasefire being broken. In the last few days, Israel has clearly broken ceasefire conditions in Lebanon, and Donald Trump has openly pushed for the total ethnic cleansing of Gaza. Israeli military and settler violence has escalated in the occupied West Bank as Israel launched airstrikes and incursions into Jenin, shooting a nurse and forcing a hospital to evacuate. Several cities have been blocked off by the Israeli military, and armed settlers have carried out pogroms, burning down Palestinian homes and businesses. And 2 days ago, a 2-year-old Palestinian girl was shot in the head by the IDF. The International Court of Justice ruled that Israel's treatment of Palestinians in the West Bank constitutes apartheid and that Israel's occupation of Palestine is illegal. But international law alone isn't enough to bring peace. There has to be divestment on every level. Today was the soonest possible date for this to be discussed. And it's important we do this as soon as possible because it is a life-saving petition. Today is also Holocaust Memorial Day, a day that serves to remind us all of the consequences of dehumanization. The Palestine movement stands for peace and universal human rights. It consists of thousands of Jewish people in the UK, some of them Holocaust survivors, and together we defend the commitment to prevent genocide. Sutton Friends of Palestine stands against all forms of anti-Palestinian racism, anti-Semitism, and Islamophobia because we know where it leads. Something horrific is happening and the UK is complicit. A UN committee found that the actions of Israel's military are consistent with genocide. 250 human rights groups, including Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, Doctors Without Borders, Oxfam, Red Cross, Christian Aid, and Save the Children, told the world to stop arming Israel. A dozen of Israel's most prominent human rights groups condemned the failure of Israel's government to allow aid into Gaza. And a study by the University of Edinburgh, based on research by The Lancet, showed that when considering deaths from starvation and disease, the conservative estimate is that 335,000 people have been killed in Gaza in 1 year, more than 15% of their population. With the deadliest chapter in Palestinian history happening last year and the possibility of it resuming in weeks, ethical divestment is as important now as it was before the ceasefire. Companies complicit in these atrocities don't serve the best financial interests of pension scheme members. Political and ethical risks often come with financial risk, and indeed, Israel's economy has been severely damaged. So we urge the Council to uphold its commitment to responsible investments, and given the environmental destruction resulting from Israel's actions, we also urge the Council to divest through its existing commitment to mitigate climate change. Other councils have already moved towards divestment, namely Manchester, Bristol, Waltham Forest, Islington, Lewisham and Tower Hamlets, and we hope for Sutton Council to be next. It would be a bold and progressive step that other councils would be encouraged by. Sutton Friends of Palestine will be active in the next local elections, spreading awareness of where our councillors stand on ethical divestment. So as you consider this petition, be mindful of your privileges, being sat in this room rather than buried under rubble in Gaza. And on Holocaust Memorial Day, the day of all days to fight genocide, listen to the people of Gaza because they need to be heard. Sutton Friends of Palestine stands in unwavering solidarity with all oppressed peoples, no matter their religion or the color of their skin. We learn the lessons of history and we say never again for anyone. Thank you.
How did you feel after you'd done the speech? Did you feel you'd done well? What was the reception like from the?
Well, yeah, it was quite good. We filled out the audience with people from Sutton Friends of Palestine, so there was a lot of applause, which is always a good look for a group. The Lib Dems, generally, quite a few of them were applauding as well, so it seemed like it had a good reception. And with the speech, I had to update it given the things that happened in the days before. But also, when I found out it was Holocaust Remembrance Day, I included that in the speech. It's a very important part of the speech. And so I think the speech went down really well.
Yeah, and I mean, it's noticeable that you mentioned the Holocaust Remembrance Day in the speech. Now, the story then comes out that the Times was sent information about your speech, obviously before you made it, and they published an article online about the proposal that you were making, and they tied it in with the day, as you mentioned. You had noticed that day, and you signalled that as well in your speech that it was Holocaust Remembrance Day. And this is what the Times article in print. I mean, they printed it as well. So this is the print version of it. Divestment call prompts claims of anti-Semitism. Activists have been accused of being anti-Semitic after they submitted a petition on Holocaust Memorial Day calling for a council to divest from companies supplying the Israeli military. The petition demanding that Sutton Council divest from business operating in the occupied Palestinian territories supplying the Israeli military or complicit in the ongoing human rights violations in Gaza was passed to the Pensions Committee on the back of Labour and Liberal Democrat support. The appeal, which had almost 2,000 signatures, called on the Lib Dem-dominated council to adopt an ethical investment policy that aligned with its commitment to social responsibility and human rights. The petition, started by Tommy Oliver of the Sutton Friends of Palestine campaign group, was criticised by the Tory opposition council group, who believed it was poorly timed. Oliver told the local democracy reporting service in November, "Our petition is a grassroots push to give Sutton Council the opportunity to prevent its investments from funding serious human rights violations in Gaza and the other occupied Palestinian territories." Tom Drummond, leader of the Tory group, said his constituents expressed complete shock after learning that the appeal would coincide with Holocaust Memorial Day. A lot of them are saying, "Why choose that day of all days?" he said. "It's just not the right thing to do. I'm a great believer in democracy, but to bring a petition that is frankly at its core anti-Semitic on today of all days is an absolute disgrace." Jonathan Turner of the charity UK Lawyers for Israel said that this petition on Holocaust Remembrance Day reminds us that the Nazis started with boycotting Jews, accompanied by false propaganda defaming them. Supporters of the petition packed into the council chamber last night and chanted "Free Palestine" after the results were announced. The council and Sutton Friends of Palestine were approached for comment. I guess that you were approached for comment after they'd done the online version itself.
We were actually never approached for comment by the Times.
Oh, right. So
Not at all. No,
Right.
they haven't approached us for comment, not by email. We've checked all of our DMs on social media, all of our accounts. We haven't found a thing from the Times.
Wow.
Nothing.
And you found out as well about the timing of that when it was actually put out online. Can you tell us when that was?
Well, yeah, it was put out online an hour before I'd made my speech, so we hadn't even presented the petition to the council yet, and it was already making the national media, which is something we only found out about hours later.
That's and how have I mean you were very you had no inkling that that would happen. However, you'd already in the speech covered the issue of the Holocaust Memorial Day, um, and and the and you spoke about anti-Semitism and Jewish people and how the need for peace on both sides. You were being very balanced in the speech in that way. I find it incredible that you were given such a smear in the national press by this Tory leader. And was
Yeah,
he at the meeting himself?
yeah, he was. He didn't speak, but he was at the meeting. So I was wondering, but also the Times article online includes some things that were updated after the meeting happened. So actually, I mean, even in the printed version, it said supporters chanted "Free Palestine." So despite the fact that the article came out online before the speech, they've got things that happened after. So it's been updated throughout the day. But as it was updated, it didn't include any of the things that we said in our speech.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And what's happened since? I mean, can you tell us how the response has been from people in Sutton? Are they angry with you? Are they angry with the Times? What's have you been
Well,
given more support? Has it mobilized more people behind the campaign?
there's a lot of outrage within our group because our group's quite big. We've got a WhatsApp group and an Instagram with lots of people on it. And when they see that this has happened, there's a lot of people who are getting active and communicating with the people in the group more than usual. Um, and I think it has mobilized people. But at the same time, Sutton has quite a large far right base. It's been growing quite a bit, and there's a lot of reform voters around here. So there's been a very negative response online as well that's been brought on by what the Tories have said. Um, and I mean, what's been said about us is essentially, well, it's dangerous, it's defamatory. The first line of the printed article said that we submitted a petition on Holocaust Memorial Day. We submitted the petition in mid-November.
Mm.
it it couldn't be more wrong. And even later in the article, they said in November, Tommy said uh, that Tommy said that this petition is an opportunity or grassroots push, something.
Yeah.
So that acknowledges the petition existed in November and then presents it as being submitted on Holocaust Memorial Day. It's an automatic date. We didn't get to pick it. But there's a lot of anger from people who assume that we did pick it. And if they don't think it's us, then they think the Lib Dems picked the date. So either way, it's going in a Tory's favour. But
Mm.
I think it's definitely backfiring because they're not convincing anyone who isn't already convinced that you know that Palestine activists are all anti-Semitic or something ridiculous.
What do you think about the Times printing this thing without really checking because it hasn't been checked about the timing of it. It's inflammatory, and I mean the Times is meant to be one of the greatest papers in history. I mean it's an old established paper.
Yeah.
What's your take on the Times just doing this for this Tory? I mean it's crazy, isn't
It's
it?
really unprofessional. It just shows that the Tories have got some contacts in the Times who are essentially doing them favours in terms of media reporting and just going, oh, so this is a Lib Dem council and a pro-Palestine campaign group. Can we smear them with this article? I mean, this article there was no attempt to contact us. It's very obvious. And the fact that they put in that we were contacted for comment, it's a deliberate attempt to portray us as just simply not responding to something, when in fact we were not given a right of reply by the Times. And the entire framing of the article was based entirely on the information provided by Councillor Tom Drummond.
Wow. So how do you feel now about all of that experience? I mean, the whole build up was quite amazing that you got all these signatures, you went so far, and does it show you how difficult it is to just to have a small go at Israel for the genocide? I mean,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
quite scary, isn't it?
This is something very simple. It's a very local thing. Sutton is quite a, insignificant place if you compare it to like the whole of London. We're a very small place, and to put in a petition by local people to call for ethical divestment regarding the situation in Palestine. It's a very simply worded petition. We don't even call it a genocide in the petition in fear of it being rejected on that basis. We don't even call for councillors to condemn Israel because we don't want empty condemnations. It's a very simple petition about ethical investments, and local people, including myself, a constituent of Sutton, has been smeared in the national media for engaging with local democracy in a completely, well, in the way that Sutton Council was set out for us.
Yeah. Do you feel like you want to do more? Or do you feel like you want to retreat and not do this kind of thing anymore?
No, I'm going to carry on. When I stepped into the Palestine movement about 11 months ago now, when Sutton Friends of Palestine was set up, and I co-founded it in the knowledge that if Sutton Friends of Palestine did anything worth reporting on ever, that it would be smeared by someone. This is expected, frankly. I mean, as soon as we do something meaningful, we're going to get smeared. We saw that happen time and time again. I see Ben Jamal being compared to a fascist for leading the Palestine marches, and I see Jeremy Corbyn, a lifelong anti-racist, is called a racist by a bunch of racists. You can't make it up. And we've watched this for years, and for it to happen to our group is no surprise. It just shows us that we're doing something right.